Hello, everyone. How are you today? This is my program exposed, and this time I would like to talk about a controversial image, like one of the great fighters of all time that I still consider that is Aaron Pryor. So for me, Aaron Pryor was a great fighter, a great junior welterweight fighter that obviously did not get the recognition in part because it was maybe his fault. Maybe it was his fault. The problem over here obviously could have been that um, he never got a chance against a quality welterweight. So there is a lot of words in the internet, websites, YouTube, um, boxing comments about Aaron Pryor fans that Leonard was afraid of Pryor. I will say that's a lie, and I will prove it to you. First and first, uh, I'm going to make a mention of Roberto Duran, that was the undisputed lightweight champion from 1972 to 1978 with 12 title defense with the best lightweights in the world. So now did Duran got a chance at the welterweight title immediately after he relinquished his lightweight title? Of course not. He waited 2 years and had to make 8 fights in the welterweight division to get a shot at the welterweight title, either one Pipino Cuevas or Sugar Ray Leonard in 1980. Yes, Duran had to prove himself that he was capable of beating good quality welterweights, and he did it 8 times. When I'm talking about Roberto Duran in comparison of Aaron Pryor, that Pryor, when he won the junior welterweight title in 1980 from Antonio Cervantes, because he was not getting a shot immediately at the lightweight title, he wanted immediately to get a title shot against Sugar Ray Leonard, or that was now the undisputed welterweight champion. By 1981, or by the end of 1991, and he wanted that title shot without proving himself with at least a couple of fights against top welterweight fighters. He could have asked to fight Pepino Cuevas, that was beat by Tommy Hearns. He could have asked to fight against any other top welterweight, to prove that he was capable of beating a bigger man than a junior welterweight. Now, Leonard offered him, I believe, was before around the year in 1991. There is a video offering him $500,000. Aaron Pryor says no. Let's point this thing. Aaron Pryor, meanwhile, he was the junior welterweight champion before the Aguayo fight. He never was paid more than $100,000 or 100 something thousand dollars, because he hasn't really, besides Antonio Fernandez, he didn't really beat any like a known name in the boxing era in that time. I mean, junior welterweight division wasn't really that popular in those times. Antonio Cervantes was one of the best junior welterweight fighters. Obviously, he was 34 years old. It still was a great victory for Aaron Pryor. But besides that, he struggled against Dujuan Johnson, that actually was a very good fight. Aaron Pryor TKO him in 7 rounds, but he was staggered a couple of times. So Duran when he got a shot at the welterweight title, he got paid $1 million, and Sugar Ray Leonard got paid $10 million. I mean, that was not really like a good example to, I mean, to give credit to the 12 defense of Roberto Duran. Still, we're going to talk now about the popularity and the charisma. Yes, if you have charisma, let's say Sugar Ray Leonard, let's say Oscar de la Hoya, let's say Manny Pacquiao, let's say Mayweather, you are going to put the conditions to fight the other fighter. Even as crazy as it sounds, when Oscar de la Hoya fought Bernard Hopkins, guess what? Bernard Hopkins was the undisputed middleweight champion of the world with many defenses already. But who had the name and the charisma? Oscar de la Hoya. So unbelievable. Oscar de la Hoya, as the challenger, got paid more than the champion. Yes, Oscar de la Hoya got paid $30 million against the middleweight champion, the undisputed middleweight champion, Bernard Hopkins, that got paid $10 million. That's ridiculous. But that's the way it is. The charisma champions put the way they want to fight, all like that. Sugar Ray Leonard won 2 titles in the same fight against Donnie Lalonde, that was a natural light heavyweight champion. He was forced, because he was going to get paid $5 million to go down to the new super middleweight division and to obviously down the weight from 175 pounds to 167. Obviously, he was weakened by the weight, not giving anything away to Sugar Ray Leonard, that he was always admired him as a great fighter. But obviously, if they would have fought at 175 pounds, probably, I would say probably, would have been another story. But that's the way it is. Charisma fighters, popular fighters, put the conditions in which weight, under what circumstances, and who is going to get paid more. So Aaron Pryor was not in any position to get paid $1 million like Duran did. Let me tell you something. Duran could have said no to Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what? I want at least, let's say, half and half, $5 million and $5 million. But Duran was so desperate for the money and to face Leonard that fought for $1 million only. Meanwhile, Sugar Ray Leonard got paid $10 million. In the rematch, then Duran got paid $8 million. Now he asked for the money because he was the welterweight champion. But once again, Aaron Pryor wanted the piece of cake of the welterweight division to fight directly with Sugar Ray Leonard. He got the opportunity, and he said no. And I believe he would have lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. Just remember something. Yes, everybody's talking about their way of fight, but let's talk about something very important. Arguello was moving up in weight for the 4th time in his career, for 126 pounds, 130, 135 pounds to 140 pounds, with 30 years old and with more than 80 fights and more than 20 championship fights. So Aaron Pryor struggled with him for 14 rounds with a mechanical fighter like Arguello, that he was he has so good target, precision, but wasn't fast and didn't have a really good defense. It was just like a robot that has a good 2 punching hands coming out like Pryor like this. What do you think would have happened against the faster fighter of that division, like Sugar Ray Leonard, and still a good punching power, and something that Arguello never knew how to do it? Grab, holding, yes, and heavier than Aaron Pryor. What would have happened? For me, Sugar Ray Leonard probably would have KO Aaron Pryor in the late rounds. Bigger, stronger, and faster than Arguello. So, or by unanimous decision. Aaron Pryor would have still do a good fight against Leonard, but not as strong as Duran was. But one more time, let's clarify this. He could have another opportunity when he beat Arguello for the second time in 1983 to jump to the welterweight division, have a couple of fights, and then get a title shot against Donald Curry. Oh no, he was waiting too long for Ray Mancini, a fighter obviously he could have beat. Easily, maybe in 6-7 rounds. But he wanted the money. And what happened? That fight never materialized because of different reasons. Mancini lost to Livingston Bramble. So Aaron Pryor could have made the welterweight division. Probably he wouldn't have been as big as Duran. He didn't have that corpulent body, the size of the body to do like a solid 147 pounds. And even though he lost with Bobby Joe Jones already over the hill, Aaron Pryor, but still Bobby Joe Jones said something. He looks too small to fight as a welterweight. So once again, he did fought Arguello that was jumping in weight for the fourth time. Aaron Pryor never proved himself against a top welterweight. He beat Thomas Hearns when a skinny Thomas Hearns was 17 years old only. That wasn't the Thomas Hearns that was the punching machine. That was in 1980 or 1981. Would have been even worse for Aaron Pryor if he would have jumped all the way to the junior middleweight division and faced Hearns and company. Now, of course, he didn't have, once again, the size to compete in the welterweight, less in the middleweight division. He would have been killed. So, one more time, Aaron Pryor never did a campaign as a welterweight to prove himself he was capable of beating good welterweights, and just was trying to have a good payday, more than $1 million against Leonard that he was not going to get. Finally, in 1982, they were signed. He signed the fight for Sugar Leonard for $750,000, but Leonard retired with the detached retina, and the fight went off. But he could have continued to fight as a welterweight. But maybe it was better to stay at the junior welterweight because he made a couple of times more than $1.5 million in both their way of fights. So, because like I said, for me, he will have lost with against Sugar Ray Leonard by TKO the later rounds, and the same will have happened with the champion Donald Curry that was in his prime, bigger and stronger than Aaron Pryor, not the skinny Arguello that was jumping in weight for the fourth time. So, this is my comments against Aaron Pryor. Why he never challenged a top welterweight fighter and never got a shot, because he was asking for too much without making, a good campaign as a welterweight. This is Pose. Thank you very much for watching my channel. Goodbye.